Recently, Pokemon Infinite Fusion has been a new craze in the Pokemon side of YouTube, and with having an idea for a unique spin on it, I'll be doing a blind Nuzlocke with only custom fusion sprites made by yours truly. Without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Here are the rules I will be playing the game with. Pause if you want to read them. At the time of recording, not all of my fusions are actually added yet into the fan game, so you can download all of my sprites from the description and put them into the game if you would like as much. Anyways, with uncontained excitement, I finally get into the game and run down the stairs, name the rival times since we all want to beat it, but it always overpowers us. I hope that it is not any poetic foreshadowing. Getting into the lab, I head straight for Bulbasaur since I made fusions that involve it for the early game. The nickname theme will be no name. Why? Good question. Simple answer. I want to see what names get created from the fusions. Right after that, I beat a rival after cheesing with a good amount of growling, also known as the best strat ever. Doing the best mechanic known as fetch quests, I run to snatch up the parcel for Oak, return it, and finally get some Pokeballs. But the Nuzlocke starts when I get my first fusion, which will be made up from 2 nearby Pokemon. In the meantime, on the way there, I get Bidoof and Zuriel, which took forever to find, for later fusions. I get to Route 22, and for more later fusions I find Duskull and Bonsly, but on round 2 I get Ralts, so that the Nuzlocke can finally start with our first fusion. I fuse Ralts and Bonsly to create the starter of our run. Meet our little pal Rosalie, what do you think? Such a cutie. Oh, and together with the Pyukumuko I got gifted, I also fuse Panphi to get this little buddy, which also has an evolution I made. Hopefully it survives. Also, I'll snag a Slugma for later. Finally moving on and catching a good few Pokemon, I reach Viridian Forest and mostly repeat the process. I catch Bidoof to evolve into Roselia, but struggle to understand when it's daytime, so I delay it until it eventually works, and then I'll fuse with Slugma. In the meantime, I travel through the Viridian Forest and catch Paris and Inkada for later. Before I get into Pewter City, I checked our wiki and turns out Bidoof evolves on level 15. I guess I'll just fuse it now. Evolving Bidoof to Roselia and mixing it together with Slugma, we get a fusion known as Rosegma. That sure is a name. But anyways, I check everything out in Pewter, find nothing really useful and just decide to head for the gym. It's Brock time. Turns out I can only use 2 Pokemon, which is interesting. So I take a Rosalie and Fanmuku, which is holding an Oranberry. The battle starts against Shroomiard, which has a much lower level than I expected. I use Fake Tears against it while eating up a scratch. After that, I follow up with a Confusion to deal half and confuse it, but take a Fury Cutter myself. I switch out only to have it hit itself, but switch back again since I'm scared of a 4x grass move. Yet it still hits itself. I finish it off with Confusion and in its place comes out Stee Jr., a surprisingly cool fusion with a higher level. Anyways, I use Fake Tears again and take Confusion. After that I switch to Fanmuku and eat again a Gyro Ball. Thanks to the Fake Tears, I do a third with Mudslap, but after one more it heals with a berry. I just spam out Mudslap and it does the job until we win. That was nice, and we also got a Wonder Trade ticket. I guess I can trade and hope for Pokemon that I need for fusions and get them earlier than expected. I catch a Pokemon for Wonder Trade, and for it I get a Clown.
Hello.
Well, I already got a Paris, so I at least got a Pokemon to trade away next. On the way to Mount Moon, I gain more levels, see more fusions, buy Magikarp for a great deal, and see Brock being a nice citizen. Or just simping for the 100th time. I also get a Pokemon when I enter Mount Moon, which is Cleffa. For a new fusion, I evolve it at 15 for Clefairy and fuse it with Magikarp. What? I also need a meat shield, don't look at me like that. While leveling up the team, Rosalie evolves, which I did not make a sprite for. Let me fix that quickly. There we go. Also made the sprite for Curly a pseudo Widow fusion, so we're good with that as well. I also catch Geodude for a much later fusion, and traveling through the cave I spot cool fusions such as Dufa and Ontwig. Just as I'm about to make it to the exit, I witness how Team Rocket tries to catch Peeta's attention by fusing 3 Pokemon. Come on, I'm still getting used to fusing too. I take out a researcher, see how their attempt flops, and just scatter away while ditching the fella I beat. At least I got a sweet Dome Fossil for later. The first thing I do when I reach Cerulean City is head for the gym. Why? Well, the levels are getting too close to the cap for my comfort. I easily take out the gym trainers, evolve Ralwudo, and start a battle against Misty with Kerwudo and Rosegma. Turns out the levels I found are mostly the same compared to the actual levels, so I can have actual level caps now. I crit one-shot the first Pokemon with Incinerate and I use Yawn on Manras. I take a lot of damage, but against that I lead up with Leech Seed and take Icy with myself. Now that it is asleep, I use Incinerate to get rid of the berry I thought it had, but didn't have. Magical Leaf almost takes it out together with Leech Seed, but I myself take a lot of damage. Since I have Sturdy and to play it safe, I switch to Kerwood and let Leech Seed take out the Manras. But she heals. That sucks, so to hopefully get extra turns, I use Rock Tomb to lower speed. Leech Seed also does good damage, but lives on 1 HP. It's pretty close, so I don't have to risk it. I sack Kerwood so I can safely switch to Rosegma. Farewell, my previous starter, you're gone too soon. But turns out it still outspeeds and takes out Rosegma. Well, that sucks. Attempt 2 it is. Since I'm here for a fun time, not a long time, I set the difficulty this time to easy and start a run by picking Bulbasaur again, getting all the encounters I can, repeat the fusions and head for Brock in his gym. I don't use Ralsei since it overleveled, so I go with the other 2 instead. I lead with Fanmuku to bait for the grass move, switch out and use Ember to then take it out. I yawn Stee Jr., switch out to remove debuffs, growl and then switch back to spam Ember and win the battle. This time from the Wonder Trade I get a Tormuku, still not useful. The route up till Mount Moon goes the same as before, except I lose Rosegma to a Grunt. Great. Now, especially because of the lost member, I head up to the bridge to see if I can get any extra team members, but I lose to the rival. Nuzlocks really aren't my thing, huh? Attempt 3, all the same. I take on Brock with Rosegma, destroy Shroomiard with Ember, put Stee Jr. to sleep and mudslap it until I win. And this time from the Wonder Trade I get a Gibble Goldeen fusion, which doesn't help. Unlucky. Mount Moon goes as you would expect, but this time I smash enough rocks to get Hearthstone, so I do more damage with rock moves and Soft Sand for ground moves. Also, I get lucky with the citrus berry from the bush, which will help out a lot. Now that I know the level cap and got better items, I prepare better for the gym and take on Misty once again. But before that I get crit one-shot by the gym trainer. Not giving up just yet, I still take on Misty and lead with Clefcarp to take on the first Pokemon. After a fake out I land Sing, Huge Charm and spam out Draining Kisses, while wasting her Super Potion. But it still survives, sets up Hail, and dodges 4 times, in which Clefcarp faints. Oh, come on! I take it out but take damage. Manras comes out and I go down to Bubble Beam. Kinda tilted, not gonna lie. Attempt 4, this time I beat Brock. Learned that you can't unfuse the Pokemon from Wonder Trains, so it's pretty much useless. Get all the encounters and go through Mount Moon by saving the Roselia Slugma fusion so I can battle the rival and hopefully get more fusions near Bill's house. Anyways, I start the battle against Time with Clefcarp, put Cotonix to sleep and switch to Rosegma to one-shot it with Incinerate. I Leech Seed Solo V and switch to Kerwidow to use Rock Tomb and Paint Attack. For the second attempt finisher, I switch out to Clefcarp, Rancor on Stealth Rock and put it to sleep. Then just like that, I slowly take it out. And lastly Phoebus, which is self-explanatory. Nice, I finally beat him, glad I saved Rosegma. One by one I beat up the Nugget Bridge trainers. On the first encounter I find a Stunfisk fusion, which I did not expect. I thought it was way later. Well, I ain't complaining since I catch it, also catch Solvuses, go a bit back, find Charmander while searching for Heracross, catch it after a long while, and finally get a new fusion. Here's Stuncross. Hopefully our second gym savior. I get Stuncross and Rosgma ready for the gym. Thankfully don't lose any Pokemon to the trainers and challenge Misty. I use Rock Smash against Glarogue while it sets up Hail, then use Aerial Ace to land moves while she heals. Next comes out Manners. To get more damage I use Rock Smash, then eat a Bubble Beam to the face. With nervousness building up, I click Rock Smash, but get KO'd thanks to a Speed Eye. Rosgma comes out and feints the Wing Attack. Great! Attempt 5, I'll just skip to the main stuff. I take out Brock with Rosgma, quickly get through Mount Moon, beat up my rival, clear the badge, get extra encounters, use HP up and protein and Tinge counter to Stuncross. Also, I get the SS ticket while searching for items, and after that I head to the gym. Only 2 Pokemon aren't over the level cap, but it's okay since I plan to use them. I lead with Clefcarp, use a gem boosted Draining Kiss after missing a lot, waste our potion and repeat using the move till I take it out. I use Sing on Manners, swap out to Stuncross, use Rock Tomb till I land for a better speed, and take it out finally with Rock Smash! Damn, you cannot imagine how good that feels! I catch a Honedge on Route 5 for later, see a cool Ledian fusion, which is always appreciated, and move on to Route 6 to also catch Pikachu. I get Old Road for possible extra catches, evolve Fan Muku on level 25 into Dawn Muku. Well, looks like something. In the daytime I catch Mankey, go get a bike voucher while waiting for night. Finally the night comes and I find a Venonat, which I also capture. I go back to the Pokemon Center to finally fuse Bulbasaur, which will be combined with Mankey and quickly evolve it. I go back to get a Duskull since I realize I didn't get it. I try manipulating Pokemon levels by fusing and defusing, but it doesn't work. And I guess it would be cheating since technically Dusclob's level would be way too high to naturally get. Oh, and I almost forgot. I can evolve Clefcarp finally. I was waiting for Minimize, but I realized my moveset is already good. Me have big brain. I go to SSN for a sweet item and Money Cruise, in which I also see some sweet fusions. Like check out Hordos. I also get Brick Break for Stuncross, find a trait for Seal, which I do for a future fusion, put the Pokemon which I'll use for the gym in the PC to not overlevel, and after that I get into a battle with my rival. I take out the first Mon with mostly 2 cross chops, Rock Tomb the Slugbass, incinerate the Nidyard to 1 HP and finish it off with Aerial Ace. Out comes Solowy, I switch to Kerwoodoo to Feint Attack and crit one shot, much easier compared to last time. Anyways, I get cut and head straight to the gym since EXP is catching up with me fast. I enter the gym, struggle with the worst gym puzzle for somehow only 2 minutes and accidentally glitch out Surge. Surge, buddy, you're okay? Well, anyways, time to battle the third gym leader. I only know the gym leader types, so I at least came prepared with that info. I lead with Dawn Muku against a Noski. I use Curse once and spam Mud Slap, but Seismic Toss does too much and I switch to Kleptos and take it out with 2 Draining Kiss moves. Up next is an Edgelord's Wedge Reap, Houndblade, but it goes down to 3 Training Kisses. Anticlimactic much? Finally up is Fletch Chop, for which I switch to Stuncross and use Aerial Ace, which does only half thanks to Bulk Up, but also I get burned. To finish it off, I use Counter, which doesn't work thanks to Roost. I switch out to Kleptos due to big damage dealt, and finish up the battle with a sweet Draining Kiss. Thankfully I had Kleptos since otherwise that would have been tough. According to the resource, my level cap is now 35. Oh, and from the Wonder Traits I get this. and this. Useless, but still awesome. Between recordings, I fixed up the Cliff-Dose fusion, since in the end it really doesn't have that much stuff related to Gyarados. So yeah. Anyways, moving on. I finally evolve Ivy thanks to the increased cap, so meet IVA. I beat up some trainers on Route 11 for extra money and to see some more fusions like Vigokyu, Shuplea, Sudowrit and Meowriel. Even though it may be tedious at points, it sure is a treat to see some awesome fusion sprites made by talented people. I cut down some trees for a lonely man to get some shears, which is a key item that I can use so I don't have to teach cut to any Pokemon. That's a pretty cool mechanic in my opinion. Now that I got cut, I go get Kabuto resurrected for a future fusion on the way back. I head back to Cerulean City so I can now reach Route 9 and cut down the tree to head towards Lavender Town by heading in the Rock Tunnel's direction. But of course, I can't miss out some nice fusions like Houndouk, Goroth, Mists, Whitetongue and Antal. But also on Route 10 I catch the duo for later. In the Rock Tunnel I do some extra stuff, but find a wild Pokemon that crashes the game. At least thankfully I saved outside the cave. Between recordings I did a video about making Gen 9 cross-gen Pokemon Sprites, which included Annihilate. That gave me an idea for the Ivysaur Primeape fusion, so let me evolve this fusion and time to check out the Venusaur Primeape fusion. So, what do you think? Oh, and I also evolve Widow and get a final stage for it as well. Pseudo Widow's purity has been ruined. Well, anyways, I also made another fusion evolving Annihilate, so I go back to get two Mankeys and fuse them to get the ultimate Primeape, an alive version of Annihilate, at least my interpretation of it. Now that we checked those out, let's move on back to the tunnel. Traveling through the tunnel, I find and catch a Cranidos, find a Litwick Onix fusion which I catch and will later unfuse for the Onix. Proceed to get lost for a good while, only to get an egg from a random hiker in result, and continue wandering for a bit, but in the end I still make it out and get to Route 10, only to make it to Lavender Town in no time. In the Pokemon Center I buy a blue egg for 5,000 Pokédollars, although I have no idea what that Pokemon is, and because of that I decide to quickly hatch the two eggs to see what they are. Turns out, a simple Machop Geodude fusion, and why not? That was totally worth it! In the Pokemon Tower I obtain an odd keystone, which will come in useful for a special encounter. But of course, on the next floor I got a battle with a rival Time himself. I start up with some simple brick breaks against Whimsiccio to waste his potions, then use some more and take it out. For Duo V, I switch to Don Muku and take it out with two Magnitudes, then also do the same against Axgon, but then I forget about Dragon Rage and Don Muku sadly goes down. Rip the big fella, but let's move on and attack Niniard with some draining kisses. He switches to Litzel with U-turn, but I keep up the kiss spam until the rest of the fusions go down. That was an easy battle, but ended with a foolish mistake. Anyways, I can't go up the tower without a Sylph Scope, so let's head to Celadon City. Going through Route 8, I get more encounters, which are Vulpix and Slakoth from a Wild Fusion and a Sandshrew. Then realize I need another Mankey, go back to catch one, in the meantime I also find a Shuckle, and then evolve Sandshrew and Mankey, which I both then fuse into a new team member. As you see, Primeape is in a lot of fusions, which is not on purpose. Like, for crying out loud, half of my team is Primeape based. I finally reach Celadon City. I go up to the place where Eevee usually is, take up a side quest to go on a stroll with the Eevee, and in result I get to keep it. I guess she couldn't find a better way to get rid of it. But I'm not complaining, since now that I got Eevee, I can get a new fusion. I go to the Celadon shopping department, buy a Firestone and also 2 Leaf Stones for later, then go to a PC and retrieve Azurill. Evolve it to Azumarill, use Firestone on Eevee and fuse them together to create the adorable Azumarion. Sucks that I can't get huge power though. I head towards the 4th gym to finally get the next badge, but looks like Erika needs assistance in the sewers, but hey, at least I get to catch a Grimer and got a sneak peek at some of Erika's Pokemon, so I'm not complaining. In the meantime, I also see a cool Duskull Ampharos fusion and awesome Makago Typhlosion one as well. But while doing some puzzles, I find a Porygon which I can use for another fusion later too, but it dies thanks to Erika. I reach a spot where I need to split up and go left. I go through the rooms, see more awesome fusions and reach Giovanni at the end, which ends up with having a battle. I start off by switching to Stun Cross and attacking with Mega Horn and Brick Breaks. I take too much damage, switch to Prime Slash and take also a good amount from Drill Peck. Switch to Guard the Widow and then use some Tearful Looks and Thunder Wave to gain the lead. I switch, regain HP from Leech Seed and finish it off with Rock Slides. Next is Kekrior and I use Psychic, but turns out it's a Dark type so it doesn't work. I switch to Klefdos, use Draining Kiss, but he switches to Kekrior. Oh, a Zoroark, I see. I saved the Zoomerion for last, so I switch to it, take 2 Dark Pulses and finish it with Play Rough. But turns out that wasn't the last one, and it actually is Smeargar. So I decide to attack, but get faked out. I switch to Rosegma to sack it for a clean switch to Guard the Widow to use Thunder Wave. But I miss. Guard the Widow goes down, I switch to Stun Cross for Rock Tomb to hopefully outspeed with Klefdos. I switch, then use Aqua Tail to thankfully outspeed. That was way too scary and close, goddamn. It sucks that half my team went down, but at least I'm still standing. Goodbye to my starter Guard the Widow, the helpful member Rosegma, and the buff boy Stun Cross. But now that my levels are higher, I at least can do some fusions for more team members. I fuse my evolved Paras with a Dusclops to get Dusect, evolve Grimer and buy a Firestone for Vulpix to fuse and get Mutails. I take Shuckle, evolve Onix on level 40 and fuse them both to get one of my favorite creations, the appealing Shulix. I go back to the sewers to find Porygon again and after a while a Totodile as well. Now with that, I evolve Geodude and fuse it with Porygon for Porylem. Also, I get a coin case so I can buy Dratini and Cypher for later. And finally, after the Giovanni battle, I got a Silphscope, so I go back to the Pokemon Tower for Shuppet. But the main thing I came for is Spiritomb. For the last fusions I evolved Shuppet and fuse it with Shedinja into Shedette, and lastly Spiritomb with Cypher for Spirifer. Now to finally get some gym action. With a team built based on what I saw in the sewers, I go for Erika and challenge her to the battle. I start with Porylem against type Fur and try to do as much damage as possible with Rock Blast, which one-shots it. Next is the unseen Buttergeese, for which I do the same but get put to sleep. I switch to a Zoomerion since I fear any setup, but she uses U-turn and switches to her Ace. I expect a fake out, but she uses Bug Bite while I use Charm. And a clean Fire Fang after that somehow one-shots it, which I'm not complaining about. And for the last mon, I get put to sleep, but switch out and crit one-shot with Flamethrower for an anticlimactic finisher. But it's pretty nice, since I'm still recovering from that traumatic Giovanni battle. I immediately head back to the Pokemon Tower to finally finish up all of the stuff available there and see fusions which are awesome. I get the Pokeflute from Fuji and go straight up to Snorlax to wake it up. And of course, I try to catch it. Why not? Especially since it has leftovers. But in the meantime, I also go to get a good rod for some other encounters appearing soon. Like catching a Krabby at Vermilion City. And because of that, I evolve it and the Slack off in my PC to get another fusion, which results in a Slaller, whatever. Well, this buff boy hopefully will be a good helping hand for the team. While checking out the PC, I realize I can get 2 more fusions, but I forgot to catch a Charmander. So I fly back to Celadon and go find one. I find it fused with a Marill, catch and unfuse it to evolve into a Charizard, and do then the same for Seal to Dugong, which I then fuse into a Duizard. Simple, yet majestic. And now, because of how levels work when fusing, I evolve my Dratini to a Dragonite, take the Bidoof and evolve it so I can get the favorite fusion of mine, Drago Barrel. Although it is in the level cap right now, I won't use it yet, since getting Dragonite naturally at this point would be pretty tedious and annoying, you get my point. Until the level cap is not over 55, or if we're at the endgame, Drago Barrel will dominate the PC in the meantime. Now that we are done with that, let's get back to the trip to Koga's gym. But back to the main thing, which ends up in catching 2 Oddishes for 2 more fusions. I mean, still cool, right? After running to the Pokemon Center, I also retrieve Spearow and Totodile, evolve both the Oddishes to Vileplume, and evolve the Feraligatr and Fearow. Now to actually finish the fusing, I finish it up by fusing to get Vilerow, then follow it up with getting Vilegator. It's tough to decide, but I think I like Vilerow more. What about you? Okay, finally, let's move forward. I go through Route 13, in the building in between routes I receive an EXP all, which I finally get to turn off. What a relief that I get, while also making it to Fuchsia City, a double win for me. Now to just get it over with, I prepare for the gym with the knowledge of it being Dark type and head straight for Koga's badge. Finally taking him on. I lead with Venuape against Tomterra to use a gym boosted Razor Leaf to do half, but turns out it was a Zoroark fusion. I barely survive and switch to Slayer, thankfully no pursuit. And thanks to Shell Armor, I don't have to risk a crit. He uses a potion while attack with Slash, and then I finish it off with the same thing. Next is a Weak Flame, for which I keep Slayer in and do as much damage as possible, by crit one-shotting it. Following it up comes Honchvoyer, but I'm getting cocky and continue to spam Slash, which does the job. Last is the actual Umpterra, but the strat doesn't change, so I keep slashing while it yawns. But that doesn't change the plan. But after a wish, I decide to switch to Klefdos and charm it for extra safety, while I get yawned. But I stay in since I have Lumberry, and after it I attack with Aquatail to two-shot in it, ending the battle with a win and no losses. To celebrate, I head to the Safari Zone and explore it for a while. After some attempts, I get a few nice battle items, appealing TMs, and a Surf HM, catch a Tangrowth, and half an hour later of searching for Chansey, I give up and hope that I'll find it later somewhere. Oh well, at least I get to evolve Doduo now to get a new fusion by fusing it with Tangrowth. Before heading to Saffron, I also check out a cycling road in which I battle more great fusions. Then proceed to find and catch a Ponyta and also a Skarmory. Time to get another fusion. I evolve Cranidos, get Skarmory and fuse them both into Scarados. Time to do some real damage while being defensively a not so wet towel anymore, looking at you Rampardos. And with that, let's move on to Saffron City. With no stopping, I head straight for Silph to get rid of Team Rocket and get a chance to battle Sabrina. Anyways, the path to Giovanni is fully clear, but I go back to prepare a team and change Pokemon since my levels are way too high. With the team now prepared carefully, in the fear of losing more fusions to Giovanni, I head to the Bastard for the fight. But time runs up to me and I take him on first. I have an unfortunate start with Klefdos against Whimsray, but I go for a charm anyways. A painful Giga Drain comes out, but I survive and land a charm. With that, I switch to Tandrio and take a Volt Switch, making the risky play worthless, and instead comes out Lamsoul. I switch to Azumarion and eat a sizable Shadow Ball. In retaliation, thanks to Quick Law, I use Aquatail and it faints due to burn while trading an ineffective Flame Orb since I'm Fire type. Up next is Fragon, but with a Play Rough, after Rock Slide I almost one-shot it. Expecting another Rock Slide, I change to Primeape, but he uses Dragon Claw. Hoping that I outspeed, I attack and thankfully take him out. Next is a Rupion, for which I switch to Slayer and take a painful Psychic. To test my speed, I use Slack Off to learn that I don't outspeed, but he uses a weaker move so I get to attack. To do as much damage as possible, I use 2 slashes but take a lot of damage myself. Having not much of a choice, I use Slack Off, while it thankfully also just heals. Phew. Anyways, I cautiously take it out by locking it into Hyper Voice and slowly attacking it. Back into the battle comes out Whimsray, but with no good switches I use Slack Off to scout, only for it to switch again. Out comes Ninjard, for which I use Slack Off again, only for it to set up. I use Encore on a X-Scissor, but after some tedious strays with blows, I attack while he baton passes to Whimsray. Yikes. But I have a feeling it doesn't have a physical move, so I use Slash. And yes, he uses Tailwind, which means I can take it out, although it gets close to taking Slayer out. Ninjard comes out again, so I switch to Tandrio since it has good bulk, but it switches to Magtic. Backed into a corner, I use Giga Drain to heal up a bit, while he uses Toxic. I repeat it, but take massive damage and live on 4 HP. I switch to Kleptos, expecting a Lava Plume, but instead it comes out Surf, which I still take. Then take it out with Aqua Tail, then use it against Ninjard, but get flinched. Not good. I switch to the last healthy Mon Porylim and take half from Ironhead. Having not much of a choice, I use Bulldoze, and he gets greedy, so I take it out. That was way too stressful. I'll take a short break.
1 hour later.
Okay, I'm back. Let's do this. My plan was to charm down the opposing fusion and then set up, but now I guess it's just attack and don't lose. But thanks to how it plays out, I still get an opportunity to do that. I charm both of them down, then start using Acupressure. But the plan changes yet again. While Giovanni's Pokemon double down on Time's Pokemon, I just chip away slowly at his Pokemon, one by one. And with that strat, the battle slowly moves on until my rival's Magtic takes out his last Pokemon both at once. Well, that was anticlimactic, even though his levels were way higher than I expected. Anywho, I choose a Chikorita from the chairman and a Master Ball, but let's just move on to Sabrina's gym. I head for Sabrina and initiate battle. I lead with Gyarados. Since I have Sturdy and a Hearthstone, I use Rock Tomb to deal as much damage as possible, which one-shots to probably no one's surprise. Next is Marowak, so I switch to Kleptos to hopefully start a setup. But almost get taken out. I switch to Tandrio and just do damage to take off Disguise. But it doesn't have it. I also take a lot of damage, but now I fear a priority move. But I got no other choice and just use Giga Drain. And thankfully she just heals, so I get to take it out easily while using up all of her potions. Next up is Driftreel, but not expecting big damage since it's Ghost Fairy. I attack, Acupressure, and get a special attack boost, then Giga Drain. Last up is Cleflix, for which I Giga Drain until I see that I don't do any big damage, and switch to Mewtails and deal big damage with 2 Flamethrowers, and take it out. Thankfully that went well, especially since that Marowak Mimikyu fusion was such a menace. Now that I can surf, I go check out some stuff and go to places I couldn't before. I catch a Wailmer and Chinchou near Cerulean City, go catch an Eevee in the middle of Celadon and evolve it to Espeon so it learns Morning Sun, which I use to get the best time for finding Pokemon in the safari I need. After a good while, I get a Kangaskhan, then also a Chansey. I evolve Solosis and Chansey, then fuse them both into Ryuzi. Then I put together Kangaskhan and the previously evolved Espeon to also get a fusion known as Kangaskhan. Last fusion for now is Venonat and Chinchou, then evolve them to get Landmoth. Oh, actually, I realize I forgot to catch a Pokemon. I go to Mount Moon, find a Nosepass, go find the Magnet Stone near the power plant to evolve it, and after that I evolve my Wailmer.
then fuse them both to get Way Pass. I think this turned out pretty cool. Anyways, I remember about Slowpoke as well and go to catch it near Bill's house. I get back to the PC, get Snorlax and evolve Slowpoke with a Water Stone, then fuse them both to get the fusion Snorking. Now that we are done with that, let's start moving towards Cinnabar Island from the Pallet Town side. I get the Super Rod, check out the buildings, and after that I head for the Pokemon Mansion. I pop a fusion incense and search around a bit, only to find a Chimchar fused with a Klefki 5 minutes later. I catch it, and now with it I search up where Axio is, since I haven't found it yet, then head to Route 16. After a bit I also find it, catch and evolve it, then do the same for Chimchar and proceed to fuse them into Inferorus. Feels good to get a usable Dragon Dancer. After gaining a cool new team member, I go back into the mansion to gain entrance to the gym. Then also jump down the gaping hole since I'm a Superman, and just run along and enter a battle with a casual trainer that has a Probopass with Magnet Ball. Well, it was a fun run while it lasted, Gyarados. God damn it. I take him out, but that hurts a bit since that big damage was really useful. But then also Kangaskhan goes down to a Sucker Punch. What is this guy? I finally beat him, but that was too stupid to easily write off. But straight after that, I cleared the rest with no worries, level up the party to the presumed level cap, and start the battle by picking the team. I lead with Dusect against a Klinkferrig and put it to sleep while dodging a Zen Headbutt for a chance to set up with Inferorus. While it is still asleep, I use a Dragon Dance and start attacking since it already woke up. It lives thanks to a Focus Sash, but thankfully it gets burned and goes down. Up next is a Xeno, so to play it safe, I switch to Spirifer since I expect a Psychic move. I predicted correctly and result get a free switch with an ineffective stored power. And looks like it also had a Focus Sash, so I'm glad that I didn't keep Inferorus in. With 3 simple moves, I deal big damage to Xeno, but then he switches to a Togaclinus. Since I damaged it with a Night Slash, I hope to take it out with a Silver Powder boosted Stab X-Scissor, which does not take it out and I get Pain Splitted. But due to recovering less than I dealt, I use X-Scissor again with confidence and actually take it out. Up next is his Ace Allosaur, for which I use X-Scissor since I think it's a Psychic Grass type, which I guessed correctly and actually one-shot, while being surprised that there was no Focus Sash. The Xeno also goes down to X-Scissor and the battle ends just like that. Easier than that stupid scientist in the mansion, so I guess I'm not complaining, especially since I can actually now add Dragobarrel to the team. Hey there, bud! I also get some stuff from the daycare and go to the hotel to sleep and skip time. But I end up in Pallet Town. The houses have nothing and the only other thing is a gym, where Oak is the gym leader? What is going on here? I go in and find a Jirachi. Oh, and I have to battle him? Seriously? Sure, great. Pick your strongest fighter? Oh no, I'm scared now. I guess I'll pick Dragobarrel. Oh, phew. It's just level 20. With the biggest emotional whiplash, I paralyze it and wait, what the actual fuckle just happened? Oh, I thankfully didn't white out, so I'm not complaining at all. I am totally okay with not catching it, thanks. I wake up in Peloton and my Dragobarrel is safe. Oh, and there's a Jirachi too, I guess. Well, I guess that's enough scavenging for me. I head to Viridian and prepare for a normal gym, which will be the last before the menacing road to Elite 4. But let's get all of the badges first. First thing I do is get all of the available fusions to me at this point for better strategizing. And of course, to show them off as well, I go and find the following Pokemon: Mimikyu, Dino, and Bagon. Then catch and evolve them, and fuse Hydreigon with Mimikyu to get the fusion Hydreichi, but I won't use it yet due to Hydreigon's ridiculous evolution level. I follow up that with a fusion between Mimikyu and Salamence to get Mimimence. What a fun name to say. With those preps done, I plan a team with normal types in mind and go for the Eve Gym Badge by taking the B team first to take out the gym trainers. But it actually turns out I need to go and do a side quest yet again. While going through the mountain, I see that I may be a bit higher level than the grunts. But I'm sure the main battle will be closer level to me, right? After I defeat some more grunts, I see that Moltres was caught and reveals that has also caught the other two. And guess what? That crazy bastard sends all of them out and fuses the trio off screen. After another battle, I reach the team, but with no waiting, I get attacked and go into battle against the menace Sapmol Kuno, which is a 3 against 1 battle. Oh, and they're level 50. Yeah, looks like I missed this fight. I mean, I had no idea I had to do this, so that's my only excuse. But back to the intimidating battle. I start off with a simple ice beam against the Zapdos head, which almost one-shots, but the wizard is in danger itself. I switch to Snorking and take insane damage. This is bad, but due to being in a tough spot, I just attack, but get burned and do nothing. Seeing no other choice, I sack Snorking and switch to Prime Slash and use Fire Punch on Articuno to do half, but get taken out myself. Waipas goes in next and uses Surf, but takes a lot of damage itself. Due to being slow, Waipas also faints in result. Tandrio is next, almost takes out Moltres and goes down to a faint. I use Ice Shard with Duisar to take out Zapdos, but faint myself. With Spirifer left, I switch in and use Night Slash to take out Moltres. Then Swords Dance and Night Slash to crit one shot and get my silly, goofy, dumb brain saved. I love you, Spirifer. Oh my god, yes. My savior. I almost fainted from stress. Yes. Yes. Oh, sure, that was... Oh, goddamn. The ends. I meet up with a crew, which of course were late, and flex to them how I completely swept the floor with Giovanni. And fly with Duizard's corpse to Viridian City. Say my goodbyes to the fallen ones, give Spirifer some excellent rest and never use them for the rest of the game, grab a new B team and decide to go to the power plant to catch the Zapdos. I use the Master Ball since I am not planning on catching anything better, retrieve and evolve Ponyta, then fuse the Zapdos with Rapidash to get one of the last fusions, Zapdash. Then fuse the Aegislash with an evolved Kabutops and Chandelure with a Pikachu. As you probably can tell, the Pikachu fusion was planned to be way earlier. At least I got a Sackmon now. After that, I head finally for the gym. I go retrieve the main team, then go to the gym, accidentally run into a trainer, but thankfully don't overlevel, then go and challenge the consistent Reaper of Souls, Giovanni. I lead with Shulix to set up rocks and Sticky Web, while I discovered that the first mon probably is a Zoroark due to a Dark Pulse, which I conform with a strong Bug Bite, then finish it off while taking a lot of damage. Next is Polylurk, so I switch to Cliftos while it heals with a full restore. I'm not complaining. I use Charm and take an Earthquake, then use another one but take a lot from Tri Attack. I switch to Dusect, but get hurt badly to a Shadow Ball. I switch again this time to Drago Barrel, use Swords Dance while barely surviving, and use Aqua Tail and one-shot it. Next is a Kukan, and also one-shot it with Aqua Jet. Giovanni sends out a Kekon, and after thinking for a bit if I outspeed since it avoided the webs with Levitate, I risk it all with a Brick Break, but get hit with a Fake Out. I barely live on 9 HP, so I try again, and he heals again for some reason. Last is the PTSD inducing Smearguard, which brings me so much fear of a priority move, so I switch to Primeape. But he uses a full restore again? Looks like Stealth Rock is OP. Anyways, I use Outrage and one-shot the goofy yet intimidating Pokemon, which results in me defeating Giovanni without losing a mon to him for the first time. Now that we got all of the badges, it's time to head to the endgame of Pokemon Infinite Fusion. There we go, the Indigo Plateau is finally here. The atmosphere is suspenseful, but we somehow already have made it this far, so let's at least have some fun. I enter a building and save the game, since I'll continue tomorrow because I want to do this with a clear head. See ya in a few seconds.
The next day.
I'm back at the next day, so time to prepare for a good while, since this will be probably the last chance to do that. Now that I'm finally done with the preparation, I head for the door to the Elite Four. Even if I lose, I'm glad that I made it this far, so let's try our best. With stress running through my body, I battle first Lorelei and her water types. She leads with a, for now, low-level Pokemon being Polileon, while I start with Shulix, which sets up Stealth Rock and Sticky Web, while taking minuscule damage. I switch to Slayer to encore it into a weak move, then switch to Drago Barrel and start setting up with 3 Dragon Dances. Roost for extra safety, then sweep with Dragon Claws and Aqua Tails, but get spooked by Innards Out and a Milotic Giratina fusion. But in the end, thankfully that went mostly smoothly. But it only gets harder from here. Next is Bruno with rock types, and his lead is a Tyrant Flame. I lead again with Shulix to set Stealth Rocks, while he U-turns into Probodon. So in fear of fire moves, I switch to Slayer, predict correctly, and Encore Eruption. Weaken him so he does less, and Encore again so I switch to Drago Barrel. But he starts using Fire Blast, which still works for me, but I mess up a bit, and because of that I get blasted by Solar Beam. I fully set up and completely sweep Bruno. Looks like he still is probably the worst member of the 4, huh? I adjust items and moves, then head into battle against Agatha and her poison types. Although you could easily say she is a poison trainer in the regular games. I lead yet again with Shulix while she sends out a Clef Raid. I do the regular setup while she sets up Minimize and Toxic Spikes. I switch to Slayer, try to encore but miss. I switch back to Shulix and take it out after missing a bunch with Iron Heads while wasting her full restores. Next up is Shandabok, against which I switch into Drago Barrel to take a Fire Blast. Use 1 Dragon Dance, but get hazed. I use Aqua Tail and that thankfully does the job. She sends out Crowrose next, but I switch to Shulix yet again. Do some chip damage and then switch to Zapdash and take it out with a Life Orb boosted Flamethrower. Next is a Dusk Plume. I do a risky play and use Flamethrower, which also thankfully one-shots. Umzing comes out and I switch due to too much damage taken. I throw out Hydreichi and learn that Zapdash would have died since it used Sucker Punch. I use Flamethrower to hopefully burn it due to Serene Grace, but don't burn it and instead do big damage. I take it out with the same move, then last comes out a Mach-Ho-Oh fusion, which goes down to a simple Psychic. That was sweatier than the last 2 battles, but at least I still have all of my team members. I heal up, restore PP, and change my moves again a bit to fit the final battle, Lance and his flying types. Wait, that's also just his usual type specialty. Anyways, I start the fight with a trustworthy Shulix against his Tokaflame, which still has a low level. I was sure that I was finally getting the levels correct. Anyways, I use Stealth Rock and Sticky Web while quickly realizing that was a dumb play since they're flying types. But anyways, I get tickled by Moonblast and U-turn. After the setup, I change to Slayer, lock it into Air Slash and switch to Hydreichi so I can start snowballing with Charge Beams. I take out Shandamori, Toga Flame while getting a +3 special attack boost, then sweep the rest and snowball further while also getting close to a feint against Dark Knight. But the fight still ends up with no deaths on my end, thankfully. But now, the actual challenge is finally here. Me against time. It was fun messing around against the lower levels, but now it's time to get serious. This time I will lead with Zapdash to scout since I want to preserve Shulix, because I feel like I will need a bulky Switchmon due to possible higher damage output by the champion. But mostly because I accidentally spoiled myself with this first Pokemon. Oops. I start the battle with Zapdash like I said, and he starts with a Menace Ninsharp, which shows up that the levels are indeed much higher. In fear of setup, I try to take it out as soon as possible, so I use Flamethrower and thankfully burn it to take it out, even though it had Focus Sash. Next comes in Hacksmans, so I Volt Switch, since I feel like it could have Earthquake due to Salamence being able to learn it, but I get a lucky critical hit. Yeah, I'm glad I saved my luck for the endgame, although it's a thing I can't control at all. Anyways, I switch to Slayer to hopefully lock something in with Encore, but next comes in a triple fusion. I use Crab Hammer to deal damage just in case, but it doesn't do that much. I get burned from Scald, but on the bright side, I Encore the perfect move and switch to Drago Barrel so I can set up yet again. The burn will be annoying, but it should not matter that much. I set up to the max and roost while taking minimal damage. Then, while Time makes stupid moves like healing minimal damage, I use Dragon Claw and almost take it out, but take big damage myself in the meantime. I use Roost since I predict and another full restore, then one-shot it due to his defense drops. Next comes out an Arceus Luxray fusion, which drops my attack plenty due to simple, so I switch out to Shulix and take a painful Thunderbolt. I do cheap damage with Iron Head, but in the end I let it faint so I can have a clean switch. I switch to Mimiments to stall it a bit with Substitute, then use Earthquake to barely not take it out. By luckily once again I dodge a fatal move. I use Substitute since I expect him to heal, but instead he switches. Instead of setting up, I attack with Shadow Claws to do as much damage as possible to Rupion, which thankfully does the job with just one. Next is Chandeville, but I stay in and Shadow Claw again, which also takes out a fragile fusion. The previous, yet weakened Bond comes out, which I take out with the most satisfying Earthquake ever. And just like that, I have did the impossible for me. Win the Pokemon Infinite Fusion Blind Hardcore Nuzlocke on easy difficulty with only custom fusions made by yours truly. This was such a wild ride, especially at crazy moments like all of the Giovanni battles, especially the legendary bird fusion fight. I didn't think I was going to be able to actually beat it, and my main goal was to show off my fusions in a unique way anyways. Especially since this was my first ever hardcore Nuzlocke. But you probably could already tell that by my subpar skills and playing on easy mode, but it wasn't really that different to normal mode because of that XP share. Please let me know your top 3 favorites in the comments, and if you want to see me continue this by going through Johto with a completely new set of fusions and actually playing on a higher difficulty, which is normal still, then let's try to hit 2000 likes on the video. The amount of time I spent on this video was insane, which is why the goal is so high. The actual game was 25 hours, but the main thing that I spent time on was creating the fusions themselves, which was an estimated 50 hours for 43 Pokemon fusions. Some took longer and some took no more than an hour, but I'm pretty happy with the end result. Anyways, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this massive passion project of mine. Sorry if something was not to your liking rule-wise, but I'm not really a Nuzlocker, and like I said, I did it to show off my fusions. And also, the point of Nuzlocks is to have fun, which I most definitely did. But with that, I end the video, so stay tuned for more great content, and I hope to see you around again.